Lee Jun-fan, better known to the world as Bruce Lee, was born on the 27th of November 1940. Lee was best known for the movies Fist of Fury and Enter the Dragon, but he is even more well known for his influence on martial arts in general. Bruce was born in San Francisco to parents Grace Ho and Lee Hoi Chen. His father was a famous Hong Kong Cantonese opera star who was on a world tour at that time. This gave Bruce dual citizenship, which would one day play a pivotal role in his destiny. 4 months after Bruce's birth, his parents returned home to Hong Kong, where Bruce would get his first taste of acting as a baby in the movie The Golden Gate Girl. Lee would go on to feature in more than 20 films before the age of 18. He would adopt the stage name Little Dragon as a testament to his being born in the hour and the year of the dragon of the Chinese zodiac. As a young boy, Lee attended the Tacson School and the LaSalle College. At the age of 16, due to misconduct on Lee's part, he was transferred to St. Francis Xavier's College. At this school, he took up Western boxing and became quite proficient at it. However, he continued to get into many street fights. This would influence his parents to send him to learn martial arts. William Cheng, who is now a Grand Master in the system of Wing Chun, took Bruce to the renowned Wing Chun master Yip Man, who at first rejected Bruce based on the fact that he was not pure Chinese, and there was a long-standing rule in the Chinese martial arts world to not teach foreigners. Eventually, he would take Bruce on as a student, but most of the other pupils would still give Bruce a hard time because of his lineage and how he was being personally taught by Yip Man, William Cheng, and Wang Shun Yen. Lee was a natural and progressed rapidly. At the age of 18, destiny came calling. Bruce was in a rooftop fight with a rival Choi Li Foot school. He beat one of their rival competitors badly, to the point where the police would get involved. As it turned out, the kid's father was also connected to the Hong Kong triads. Realistically fearing for Bruce's life, his parents decided to send him to live in America with his older sister Agnes Lee. In 1959, Bruce moved to Seattle to continue his high school education. To make ends meet, he worked as a waiter in a Chinese restaurant owned by a friend of his father's. That same year, Lee also began to teach martial arts. He called his system Jun Fan Kung Fu, which translates to Bruce Lee's Kung Fu. It was basically what he had learned in Wing Chun and Western boxing up to that point. Bruce would go on to complete his education at Edison Technical School and the University of Washington, where he studied dramatic arts, philosophy, and psychology, amongst other subjects. In early 1964, Bruce dropped out of college and moved to Oakland to live with James Lee, no relation. There they would open the second Jun Fan Kung Fu School. James Lee then introduced Bruce to Ed Parker, who became impressed with Lee's abilities and invited him to perform at the 1964 Long Beach International Karate Championships. It was there that Bruce gave the now famous demonstrations of his one-inch punch and fighting techniques that would soon have the entire world talking about him. As Bruce Lee's popularity increased, word reached the Chinese community in Oakland that he was teaching Kung Fu to anyone who wanted to learn. Bruce was then given an ultimatum to either stop teaching the foreigners or settle the matter by way of combat. Bruce chose the latter. The agreement was, Lee would have to close down his school and stop teaching non-Chinese if he lost. But if he won, he could teach whomsoever he wanted. The man chosen to do battle with Bruce was a Shaolin monk by the name of Wang Jackman. There are conflicting accounts as to what actually transpired in this fight, but one thing is for certain, it made Bruce Lee evaluate his fighting system. He saw the limitations of Wing Chun and by extension all fighting styles. By the end of his evaluation, he had formulated a concept and named it Jeet Kune, the way of the intercepting fist. Television producer William Dozier had seen Lee's demonstration at Long Beach in 1964. This would lead to him casting Bruce in the television series The Green Hornet as Kato in 1966. After the show was cancelled in 1967, Bruce opened another Kung Fu school and focused on perfecting his Jeet Kune system. Between the years 1968 to 1971, Bruce would appear in numerous television shows. but he was not satisfied with the roles that he was being given. After the disappointment of not being cast in the television series Kung Fu, which he had pitched to the network, on the advice of writer Sterling Silliphant and actor James Coburn, Bruce decided to go back to Hong Kong, where he could realize his dreams of becoming a movie star. Upon his return to Hong Kong, Lee had meetings with the heads of the two largest movie companies in Hong Kong at that time, Shaw Brothers Studio, headed by Run Shaw, and Golden Harvest, headed by Raymond Chow. He would eventually sign a two-picture contract with Golden Harvest. In 1971, the movie Big Boss, starring Bruce Lee, was released in Hong Kong. It would go on to break box office records all over Asia and play in packed movie houses for 6 months straight. In 1972, Bruce's second movie Fist of Fury was released and again would go on to achieve unprecedented success. His two-picture deal with Golden Harvest was completed, and Bruce would now renegotiate to have a greater control of his next projects going forward. He formed his own company, Concord Production. In his next film, Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee would not only star, but he would also write, direct, and do fight choreography for it. This movie would also go on to do great box office numbers and would also give movie audiences what many considered to be one of the greatest fights in movie history. The battle between Bruce and Chuck Norris, who at that time was a world karate champion. The duel took place in the famous Colosseum in Rome. This movie would signal to any doubters, Bruce Lee was here to stay. In 1972, Bruce began work on his fourth Golden Harvest film called Game of Death. He had begun filming some scenes when Hollywood came calling. American studio Warner Brothers offered Lee the lead role in a film called Blood and Steel, later renamed Enter the Dragon. This film would be a joint venture between them and Golden Harvest Studio. With the Hollywood success that had previously eluded him now within his reach, Bruce Lee threw himself into the making of this movie like a man possessed. He worked himself to the point of exhaustion and beyond. On Friday, July 20th, 1973, 6 days before the release of the movie Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee suddenly passed away at the age of 32. He would not get to witness his breakthrough, not only to the American audience, but to audiences worldwide. On the strength of 4 completed films, Bruce Lee had become the biggest movie star that the world had ever seen. Apart from the millions of fans he left behind, to mourn his passing, his wife Linda Lee, son Brandon Lee, and daughter Shannon Lee. Words cannot do justice to the impact that Bruce Lee has had on the world in general, but for the sake of simplification, we will focus on his cinematic impact, and even that cannot be realistically measured. On the strength of 4 movies, Bruce Lee impacted martial arts cinema more profoundly than anyone ever had or ever will. His legacy in martial arts cinema is etched in stone. To Bruce Lee we say, rest in eternal peace and thanks for the memories. If you have enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and feel free to leave a comment. Thank you, and may the Fu be with you.